Hello everyone, my name is Clantus and welcome to the clan. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we get into the video, please smash me the like button. Thank you so much guys for participating in smashing the like button. Some of y'all are behaving like 30%ers and you are not clicking the like button. It only takes a millisecond. That's all. As you watch, you click the like button, or even before you even watch, become the notification gang and click the like button. Easy, right? I see that you are slipping away from the 1,000 likes. You remember the goal that we had, like at least let's get a video to 1,000 likes. We are not reaching that at all. So can we reach 1,000 likes at least? That's all I ask of you. Don't behave like a 30%er. But anyways, guys, let's get into what happened in the Gauteng High Court in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, because it was hot. In the beginning, it was boring, like, okay, the guy is asking same questions and he's going, and I kept asking myself, why is the judge not saying, bro, you asked that question already and it was answered, asked and answered. But Judge Rata was happy with Sibiya basically stalling. Why is he stalling? No one knows. But anyways, guys, I'm going to be reading from the script and I'm going to be reading what exactly transpired in court today, because it's a lot. This video might be longer than usual, so let's get to what happened at the Gauteng High Court today. So basically, I'm going to start with what happened towards the end between Advocate Mshololo and the judge. Then we'll circle in the end, okay? So basically, this is what Judge Rata said to Advocate Mshololo. Miss Mshololo, this is what I am going to say to you. I've been on the bench for 20 years. And I've practiced as an attorney for 30 years. I've never ever been accused of being a crook or dishonest. I was trained by, amongst others, Arthur Chaskelson, Mohammed, George Bezos. They taught me to be honest in this profession. I am just telling you who I am. I was like, okay, cool, get it. But the outburst, what was it about? Because I still don't get it, right? Then just as Advocate Mshololo was trying her best to, defend herself, this is when I realized that, nah, I've been saying this for the longest time about Judge Rata with women professionals. I don't think he likes them at all. Then Advocate Mshololo responded, my lord, I am also an advocate. Rata interjected and said, please don't answer me. But Mshololo stood her ground and answered the judge anyway, and continued to say, I'm also defending the accused, but there is an objection on the basis of fairness. I have the right to also stand up to raise that objection. With Rata trying to swallow Advocate Mshololo while she was speaking, he kept going, fine, it's fine, it's fine. Then Advocate Mshololo closed her remarks by telling the judge that we all have different experiences. Judge said, yeah. Mshololo said, thank you. So then I write my notes about my observation of what happened between Mshololo and the judge, and I said, I've said it many times before that Judge Rata has no respect for Advocate Mshololo. He always shuts her down at every chance he gets. The fact that Advocate Mshololo tried to defend herself from his emotional utterances and actually orders her not to answer him, a whole judge only wants to be heard, but not listen to other people. I've also said that he has no respect for professional women, especially those that practice in the legal fraternity, like Advocate Mshololo. At first, I thought he was being a dictator, but when one looks deeper into this, you can tell that Judge Rata would rather have the legal fraternity left to men only, just like how it always been. It is the man's world type of thing, at least in my opinion, from where I stand. So now let's go to what transpired in court today, especially regarding Advocate Sibiya. How Muzi Sibiya in the end grabbed his nuts and then he started squeezing. I did not see such coming, and I don't think Sibiya also saw it coming. I was like, wow. And he had him on a lockdown, I'm telling you. Every time Sibiya tried it, and he would come with false information And he would even go as far as accusing Advocate Mshololo of doing something she did not do, which reminded me of certain incidences that happened in court. Remember the so-called confidential document that also called leaked to the accused. Remember the fight between the warden and accused number 3, 4, and 5? And now he comes and makes a false accusation of Ms. Mshololo and saying she's warning or doing signs, or by implication, signs to the witness to say this. And he says from that point where he's standing, he could actually hear her. Like, for real. What? Talk about a sore loser. So Advocate Sibanda got hot under the collar and gave up the fight with his victim, Muzi Sibiya, who described Gininda and his ilk as izilwane in the way they conduct police business. For me, it started with the issue of rights. That's where, for me, I think in order for us to understand what happened towards the end, we need to start here. I know a lot has been said in the first half of the morning. After the short adjournment, this is when Advocate Sibanda went into the rights. So then I go, yes, the same rights that Sergeant Mukhane, who comes from Limpopo, I think is Pedi, and he came to Johannesburg in the 1980s, stayed somewhere in Pretoria among Zulu people. That's how he knows isiZulu. And then when Advocate Mshololo put him on the stand and asked him, how did you translate or interpret the right to accused number 1? We all were in stitches. Remember that? We were dead with stitches because whatever English Zulu he was speaking, that was not it. Clearly, it shows that the police force, since 1994 or post 1994, I still believe that they don't know how to recite Section 31(1) of the Constitution. That is the right to a person that is detained, arrested, and all of that stuff. I still believe that. And I don't believe that when they make arrest of anybody that is serving time in prison today, they ever read their rights in any form or shape. I don't think so. I don't think any police officer, unless they take their job seriously, know how to even recite Section 35(1). I doubt that, honestly speaking. Yeah, and Mukhane also said, is it Mukhane good? Yeah, I think it was Mukhane. He said he can speak both English and isiZulu, but isiZulu butchered it. He butchered it. I fail to understand how you are a police officer in South Africa post-1994 and been with the police force for 30 years post-1994, and you still don't know how to recite Section 35(1) of the Constitution in both English and your mother tongue, as well as the most spoken language in South Africa, which is isiZulu. This is why I strongly believe that none of the arresting officers ever read the rights of the suspect when they get arrested. No way do they also read the rights of the suspects when they are interviewed or taken in and out of their cells. All these performers and warning statements with the rights are just for formality. That is what I believe. But like I said, this started for me with the rights that Advocate Sibanda went, where he asked Sibiya the following: the only time you heard about the rights was when you appeared in this court. Just like I said earlier, I don't think that the police do read the rights of the suspect or any other time during their incarceration, if they are ever told of their rights. So it was no surprise to me to hear from Sibiya, who has been saying that the same thing since day one when he took the stand and Sibanda started cross-examining him, that nobody, not even a single police officer, ever told him about his rights. When I was arrested and interrogated by Umboto and company, nobody ever explained my rights, says Sibiya. Where I heard about my rights for the first time is here in this court. When the police officers were saying that they have read my rights or explained my rights, they interpreted my rights, it was in this court. I never even knew such rights existed. Advocate Sibanda then asked Sibiya, let's start from the beginning. Sergeant Buthelezi never explained your rights immediately after he arrested you. Mind you guys, this is the prosecutor who has asked the same question since Monday, and he's been answered by Sibiya over and over and over again. Nobody or no police officer ever told me or explained my rights to me, ever. But no, he continues to mention all these police officers one by one. Sibiya answered that question with no, Buthelezi never explained my rights. Sibanda says he arrested you for the second time inside the shack and didn't explain your rights. Sibiya responds and says there was never a time where anyone explained my rights. I didn't even know that I had rights upon getting arrested. I only heard about the rights here in this court when it was said that someone explained my rights to me. Sibanda continues to say, what about Sergeant Mukhola? Never explained your rights? Since Monday, Sibiya has been saying the same thing. No one ever explained my rights to me at any stage. Asked and answered. But Sibanda, with the silence of the court, continues to ask an answered question about Sibiya's rights, who has told this court over and over again that no one ever explained his rights to him. But let's carry on. Sibiya responds and says, no, Sergeant Mukhola never explained my rights. She never informed me of my rights. Sibanda continues on this dry bone, basically wrestling with it, and asked, Gininda never explained your rights? Sibiya responded with a no, my lord, he never told me of my rights. And then I write a note to say, at this point, the dry bone was beginning to come alive and run away. Because Sibanda continued to call these police officers one by one. And yet the answer is answered. Sibiya patiently responded with a no, he too never explained my rights to me. Sibanda, what about Mukhani? Sibiya says no, he never told me of my rights. Sibanda says Colonel Hadebe. Again, the same answer. No one ever told me or explained to me my rights. Sibanda says, Form 1814, Notice of Rights, were you ever given? Then Sibiya responds and says, I don't remember it. May the court allow me to see it so I can make my comment on it. Sibanda started vigorously going through his bundle to find the form and asked that he be given a moment. Little did he know that Sibiya was going to grab him by the nuts at the later stage because of these documents that clearly Balo is still not handing documents to the defense and the judge. And the judge, at some point, he had no documents to show. Why? Because once upon a time, he defended Balo and said he will never risk his career that he worked so hard for by not producing documents that are supposed to be produced. Remember that speech? Today he was caught with his pants down. I'm talking about Rata. We'll get there. Sibanda then said they move to the 31st when Sibiya was taken to Tembisa Magistrates Court. So this is now he's moving to Tembisa Magistrates Court. Sibanda wanted to know if Sibiya was not given rights there as well. Sibiya said no, no police officer ever explained my rights to me. Sibanda, when you first appeared at the Tembisa Magistrates Court on the 1st, Sibiya answered and said, not even a single police officer ever told me about my rights. Sibanda, the magistrate? Sibiya says, I don't remember the magistrate ever telling me of my rights. The only thing that the magistrate told me was that I find myself a legal representative to represent me. Sibanda, is that not your right? And then in my mind, I'm like, what a dumb question. How many South Africans know their rights? Wait, how many South Africans know Section 9, where you'll find the majority of our constitutional rights? Let alone Section 35(1) of the Constitution, because how many South Africans in their majority are busy committing crimes? So that they also know Section 35(1) of the Constitution, so that if the police do not read them their rights, explain their rights, they know how to fight for their rights. I found that question rather dumb as far as I'm concerned. Sibiya rightfully responded with, I don't know. Sibanda then continued to ask another dumb question as far as I'm concerned. So you don't know your rights? I'm like, okay, so where you going with this? Sibiya responded by saying, but the rights that they speak of here in this court, they never ever told me about them. Sibanda then tells Sibiya that he wants to show him a document, and he handed the document to Sibiya. Sibiya confirmed seeing the document and he acknowledged recognizing the document, but said he did not know what the document is called. Sibanda, that is the notice of rights. Sibiya says, okay. Sibanda wanted to know when was the first time he came across this document. Sibiya responded with, at Valeria police station. And no one explained it to me. Sibiya continues to say that no one ever explained anything of what was written on the document, as I can't read English. I don't know English. Sibanda, you are saying that you were given the notice in Valeria on the 30th or on the 31st? Sibiya responded by saying, I won't be able to say the date because the time I also did not have it. But I was given this document when I was moved from Soweto, and when I arrived, that's when this document was given to me. The way they gave me this document, they did so with other documents for me to sign. I didn't know what those documents were about. Sibanda simply degenerated into childishness, I thought. I thought when he asked Sibiya that all the witnesses that have taken the stand and explained that they told you of your rights, they were wrong. In other words, you are saying they were lying. So then I'm reminding you guys, I say, guys, let's not forget how we were in stitches when Mokgane, who claimed to know isiZulu, as he lived in the Zulu people in Pretoria, when he was asked by Advocate Mshololo to recite the rights in isiZulu, it was a mess. The internet broke that day because everybody was just laughing at this Mokgane guy. Now Sibanda wants this court to overlook that and consider the rights explained to Sibiya. How corrupt of the state to even imply that. Sibiya responded by saying, my lord, I do not have the right to say that people are lying, but it did not happen like that way they said in this court. No one ever explained my rights. No one ever told me that I had rights when I was arrested. It is only the court that will decide who is telling the truth and who is lying, says Sibiya. Then Sibanda says, remember when Buthelezi, he was here, he said that those rights were thoroughly explained to you. Sibiya says Sibiya says there has never been a time where anyone explained rights to me. I write another note and I say, guys, do you see how Judge Rata isn't interjecting, listening to a witness who has answered that, no, I never had anyone explain my rights? Why Rata isn't reminding the state that when a person says no, no one ever did 1, 2, 3. That also includes police, magistrates, men on the street, a lawyer, etc. But he's happy with Sibanda stalling. It doesn't make sense. But if it was the defense, Rata would have said, he answered the question, what else do you want him to say? Sibanda then continues about magistrate in Tembisa not explaining the rights. Sibiya said, no, he never explained my rights. Sibanda then continues to say, then how did you come to a conclusion that you wanted to be represented by a legal representative? Sibiya says, the magistrate said, I can't represent myself. I have to find a lawyer to represent me and speak on my behalf. Whether that is a right, I didn't know that. This is when Sibanda took Sibiya through a document, an extract, he says, from Exhibit 00. Judge Rata wanted to know what was Exhibit 00. Now, this is where I'm like, wait a minute, but Judge Rata, you have a bundle in front of you. You should be able to find Exhibit 00. And then I remembered, oh, the judge once upon a time defended Baloy and said he will not jeopardize his career by withholding important documents that should have been disclosed in the beginning of the main trial. But now he's asking, what is Exhibit 00? That's because he doesn't have it in his bundle. Interesting. Looks like the cows have come home to roost. He further said that it's just an abstract, the first page during first appearance. Mind you, this is the same charge sheet that we'll have a problem with towards the end of the video. Sibiya confirmed that he could see the paper. Sibanda tells Sibiya that it is the first page then from the magistrate court in Tembisa. Then Sibanda tells Sibiya that he's just going to go to a certain paragraph about legal representation. Then Sibanda started reading the document. At these proceedings, you have the right to be represented by a qualified legal representative. You may appoint a legal representative at your own expense, or if cannot afford one, you may approach the legal aid board to represent you on your behalf free of charge. It is advisable to have a legal representative to place your case before the court and as per your rights. So basically the form goes on and on and on about his rights. Sibiya then sought permission from the court to clarify something. No one ever read me something like this that is written on this document in Tembisa court. The issue of a right was never explained to me. Then Sibanda continued to read the paper, where it mentions or purports to say that Muzi Sibiya responded with a yes after his rights were read to him. Sibiya says, yes, I may have said yes, but a person may say you need to get yourself a lawyer. The answer would be yes or okay, but he said oh. Usually as Zulu people, when we say okay, we'll say oh. Then Sibanda, even this right was not explained to you in Tembisa. Sibiya says they never did. The only thing they told me was to get a lawyer to represent me. Sibanda once again degenerated into an attempt at being sarcastic, but he missed the mark with Sibiya. People involved handling your case, everything was wrong with them, from police officers including magistrates. I'm not sure how many magistrates he was talking about, but okay. So Sibiya then answered this question accidentally and maturely. He said, even yesterday I did say that I do not know the law. The police, when they conduct their business the right way or the wrong way, I do not know. I have no knowledge of that, of what they are doing. They are the only ones who know whether they are doing their job right or wrong. Even the magistrate does something wrong or right, I wouldn't know. That they are doing the right to do things or wrong things, I still don't know. The law, I don't know it, says Sibiya. Sibanda continues with his mistargeted sarcasm by saying to Sibiya, there are millions of South Africans, but a magistrate decides to treat your case different from all other cases that appeared before the magistrate. Again, Sibiya answered it maturely. Sibiya said, I can't answer for the magistrate of Tembisa. I was explaining what happened to me. Who said, who did what the magistrate in Tembisa does, I can't respond to that. Sibanda decided to leave this weak question for argument. Sibanda continues to basically interrogate Sibiya. You further testified before this court during during your examination in chief that you were charged for the Foslorus case 636/2014 on the 26th of July 2020. This is where all hell broke loose. Muzi Sibiya was about to expose the state for corruption in Senzo Meyiwa murder trial within a trial. And I was here for it because what transpires from here, I think I'm going to sleep well tonight. Sibiya then says, yes, I was charged on the 26th of July 2020 in Foslorus police station. Sibanda, do you remember when you testified before this court that on the 10th of July 2020, you were taken out of the police station and taken to Modabi prison because the police, they just took you out for whatever reason and at any time, so you wanted to be taken to prison where they cannot take you anytime. they feel like, taking you out. The first corrupt thing that Advocate Sibanda did was to deliberately mislead the court of the main reason why Sibiya wanted to be moved to a prison, not a police cell. This is on court records where Sibiya told the magistrate that he wishes to be taken to prison because whenever the police took him out of his police cells in different police stations, he will be subjected to violence. The tubing, the assault, kicking, and all of that stuff. The magistrate ordered Muzi Sibiya be kept at Modabi prison for safety. Sibanda reduced this to say that Sibiya complained of getting bothered or inconvenienced in a police cell. And it's not the truth, and he knows it. Sibiya then answered and said, yes, I did. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I get, because the interpreter, I think it did him wrong by not interpreting everything that was said by Sibanda. So I'm going to remind you what Sibiya said. So basically, I made a note and I said, Sibiya does not understand English. I feel that the interpreter did him wrong by not interpreting exactly what Sibanda asked and omitted. But let's move on, because the Popeye was about to dance, discrediting everything that the state tabled in this court. Sibanda then says, so how were you taken out on the 26th of July 2020, as you put it? So you could see Advocate Sibanda getting excited, and he was about to pull out an ace up his sleeve. He had that glow in his face because he knew, I got you about the 26th of July. Sibiya responds and says, they came to fetch me to attend Foslara's magistrate court. I was being fetched by the police that were investigating the Foslara's case, and they would take me to Foslara's and take me back to prison whenever they wanted to take me. They would come and take me from the prison. Sibanda then asked the version that was put to Gininda regarding the charging in this particular matter. It was said to him that you were charged in August 2020. Okay, fine. I remember Advocate Ngomezulu making that mistake. I think he wanted to say the 26th of October, but instead he said the 26th of August. That mistake can be done by anybody. Anybody can make that mistake, because there is no document that Sibanda or the judge has in their bundle where somebody was charged in August. So it's a clear mistake, that one. I remember that one. I even said, no, it's a mistake. He meant October. Then Sibiya says, I've never said that I was charged in August. I was charged in July 26, 2020. If I may remember correctly, then this is my note, and I say, if I may remember correctly, Advocate Ngomezulu wanted to say October 26th, and the mistake is not something to capitalize on, because there are no documents in both the state, the defense, and the court that mentions August, the month that Sibiya was charged. Sibanda was just being petty. Then Sibanda raises a document, a notice of rights, and he literally shakes it. You were charged by Sergeant Mukhale on the 26th of October 2020, place Benoni. Then Sibiya answers and says, I was never charged in Benoni. Then Sibanda continues to say, you just told this court that you were. The day that you were charged was 26 July 2020. You had gone to court. Now, this is where all hell break loose, I say. Then Sibiya responded and said, when I was charged on the 26th of July 2020, I was charged in Foslara's police station after returning from Foslara's magistrate's court. Sibanda then says, I will also take a judicial notice of the fact that courts do not sit on Saturday or Sunday. 26 July was on Saturday. In my mind, I was like, no, because I looked it up. It's on Sunday. Then he corrected himself and said, no, Sunday. Advocate Ngomezulu stood up to get establishment on the charging part of the suspect. Is it done in court? Because he said he was coming from court. The judge responded, because Advocate Ngomezulu stood up and said, don't ask me, ask your colleague. I'm just listening. But then judge decided, no, let me say something. Then judge says to Mr. Ngomezulu, he's saying courts don't sit on Saturday or Sunday. Then Sibanda stood up and continued with cross-examination. He said he was coming from court on the 26th of July 2020. The judge then said, and you are saying it was a Saturday. Sibanda says, no, it was a Sunday. The judge then says, that's what he's saying. I don't know. Then Sibiya responds and humbly asks the court if it is possible if he may be checked the statement that the police filled in when he was arrested. Now, this is where I'm thinking, oh my, Sibanda and his crew, they started looking like they lost their heads, looking through their bundles. It was so hilarious to watch. I was like, did Sibiya just expose the state's corruption in the Senzo Meyiwa murder? Because he wanted one thing and one thing only, a document to confirm that indeed he was charged on the 26th of October or on the 26th of July. Because according to him, he was charged on the 26th of July, where he put his signatures on top of the charge sheet or something like that. Sibiya continued to say, it's that statement that will tell me the exact date that I was charged. Maybe there is a possibility that I am mixing dates. Then Sibanda stood up and says, the record that you have showing you had charges, you received this document, Mrs. Sibiya, shaking the document as if he was addressing an imbecile, and says, yes, notice of rights. Sibiya, I have never received that document before. In October, when they came, they brought this document to me. So now in October, they bring the so-called notice of rights. But all this time, they never have. But he wants the charge sheet where he appendix his fingerprints. That's the document he's looking for, which will confirm the date of his charge, when he was charged. Sibiya continues to say, what I'm talking about is the charge sheet where I was charged. I am talking about my fingerprints that are placed on my charge sheet. Gininda told me to roll my fingerprint on the charge sheet. Sibanda then says, no, sir, that's not the essence of my question. My question is, you were coming from a court, then you were taken to Fosloras, and that's where they took the fingerprints and whatever process followed. Sibiya then answers, yes, I maintain that I was from court. They took me from court. They then took me to Fosloras police station where they charged me. So then I'm observing the assistant, the way they were busy on those bundles. It was hilarious to watch. At this point, the assistants did not look like they had any progress looking for what Muzi was asking for. Muzi wanted to see a copy of his charge sheet where he had placed his fingerprints so he could be reminded of the date he was charged. That's all. No, Advocate Sibanda was stalling by obfuscating and asking dumb questions. I think he realized that that document is nowhere. It was never brought to the state by Gininda or any of them. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, they are busy. Tonight, the typewriter is going to be... And they will try to find fingerprints from other documents of Sibiya. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to hear that, oh, they found it. Yeah, it is, Judge. Would it be admissible, though? If I am the defense, I would object. Sibanda then, once again, wants to confirm the arresting statement. Sibiya says that this is the first time I see this document. It doesn't even have my signature, but Sibanda interjected while Sibiya was talking. But Sibiya managed to finish his sentence by telling the court that the document he has on him, that is given to him, does not have his signature, the fingerprints. Sibanda, yes, arresting statement. He's making a fool of Sibiya. He's like, yes, the arresting statement. The arresting officer can never have a signature of yours. Did Sibanda, in my mind, I'm like, did Sibanda just hear himself? Produce the evidence that Sibiya is asking for that has his fingerprints. That's all. Why is he obfuscating? And why Judge Rata is quiet? Sibiya then takes the last blow at Sibanda by asking the court if he could be shown the statement with the date that I was charged and has my fingerprints. Sibanda had two minds. I could see that he had two minds. He wanted to continue, but he stopped himself. This is when he started cooking up something on Umshololo. At this point, I was like, Judge Rata, where are you? Where are you, sir? The witness is asking for a document. You are not saying anything to the state that where is this document that the accused is asking for? Then Sibanda answers Sibiya and says, that's a statement in your hands. And I was like, sir, Sibiya is not the boo with the fool. He wants the one with his fingerprints. Why are you telling him that the one that he has and you just gave him is the one that he was asking for? He wants the one that has his fingerprints. But Sibiya kept on pressing. Oh, Sibiya kept pressing and putting pressure by asking for the warning statement with his fingerprints. Once again, Sibanda and crew, with Sibanda himself, there was like this dead silence for about 9 minutes. I counted. Dumbfounded, he kept looking at the assistants who were just as surprised and dumbfounded as he was at the request of Sibiya. Sibanda then resorted to saying, would your attorney allow that? And in my mind, I'm like, huh? Where's that coming from? It's not. The attorneys, they take instructions from their client. So the boss is the client and he's understand. Why should the state, so why should the defense have any issue with what their client wants? I didn't get that, Mr. Advocate. I say, imagine a whole educated advocate caught with his pants down by a person who is not even educated. Sibiya squeezed the nuts. Then finally, Judge Rata says something. This is what he says. That document that you showed him now, what was it? Isn't it an arresting statement? Sibanda responds and says, it is an arresting statement, my lord. Judge then says, by which policeman? Sibanda answers, Sergeant Mukhola. Judge, yeah. Then the judge says, yeah, show him. He said he wanted to see it. The defense is quiet. I'm not quite sure why they were quiet, because I thought they would have objected and reminded the court that no, Mr. Sibiya is looking for the document that has his signature or his fingerprint. That document will remind him of the day he was charged. That is all. But they were quiet. I'm not quite sure if they had confidence in Sibiya or something else was going on. Then there was another dead silence. It was so silent, the judge ended up asking, what's the problem? So this is when I screamed through the screen. I was like, checkmate! Checkmate! Sibiya just checkmate Sibanda. And like a headless chicken, he just started flapping about the pulpit with his aide. Judge once again came through and said, what exhibit is that? This is the second document that the Rata is asking about that is not in his bundles. And this is an advocate who will never jeopardize his career by withholding important documents. Why is he asking about this? But he does make an admission in the end. You will hear it. Then the judge says, that statement by Mukhola. More silence from the state because they were busy tripping over themselves looking for what does not exist. Sibanda then finally says, my lord, the request is that he wants to see the warning statement. No, he already has the warning statement and it does not have his signature. Fingerprints. Judge says, no, that statement from Mukhola, what is it? Mr. Sibanda, where is that statement? Then the Judge Rata came in and said, no, the statement from Mukhola, what is it? Mr. Sibanda, where is that statement? Now in my mind I was like, is it Mr. Sibanda or Mr. Sibande? And then I looked into it. I was like, oh, Bizo. His name is Advocate Ronnie Ntlantla. That's me as well, my name, my middle name. Sibande, not Sibande. No, Sibanda. Ronnie Ntlantla Sibanda. not Sibande. Then the judge continued, can we have that copy of that, please? Rata almost had a huge sigh. You know, that's negative, like almost like rolling his eyes, but he stopped himself. Then the judge, again, because nobody seems to be doing anything, is that the statement you handed over to the lady? I didn't know that the, what's her name, Mohola, was in court. Sibanda says yes. At this point, Sibanda was not even sure what was he agreeing to, because he still had the dumbfounded look on his face, dribbled by someone who didn't even go to school. Unheard of. So in my mind, I'm like, Funa lapo Thembi, Funa. We want that document with Sibiya's fingerprints on. What you are telling the court. Funa Thembi. Judge then says, yeah, that statement you gave that lady. Sibanda says, Sergeant Mohola. I was like, wait, you mean to tell me that Sergeant Mohola is in the one with the short hair sitting behind the stage? I was like, okay, that's interesting. Judge asked the statement to be brought to him. Then judge started muffling about something about black people refusing with stuff and great sangomas dying with knowledge. And in my mind, I'm like, what are you talking about, sir? I didn't get that. Rata was just being Rata, I thought to myself. Then Judge Rata says, who wants to go first, or who wants to see it first? The interpreter gently informing Sibiya of what's going on, that the judge wants to see the statement. And out of the blue, the judge started laughing. I was like, what are you laughing about, sir? I don't know, maybe you are laughing because now yourself, you know, I don't know. So I write a little note and I say, in my mind, I was like, yeah, judge, we've been saying that this case is a circus because the wrong people are accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa. It's a joke. I'm glad you are seeing it now. It's nonsense. Eventually, the document was in Rata's hands and he looked at it and then he said, I will read it into the record since I don't have it right now. Documents that he does not have it, that Baloy had withheld. The defense don't have the same document with, this very document that is about to put into the record. I think he meant in his bundles. He didn't have the document. He was about to read into records. Rather than reads the document. Foslera's case number 636/10/2014 A212. Batubakai Mohola then reads the statements. This was written by Batubakai Mohola. This statement was done on the 26th of October 2020. It was a Monday. Now, where did Advocate Sibanda get the 26th of July 2020 is what I want to know. Because he's the one who brought up the 26th of July 2026 because he was trying to be clever, trying to confuse Sibiya. He knew that it's been 4 years later and chances are he doesn't remember whether it was the 23rd of July or it was the 26th of July. He deliberately chose the 26th of July because he wanted to catch him on a lie, but it blew up on his face. He was trying to deliberately mislead the court and took advantage of the fact that it was long time ago. And chances are Sibiya will not remember that he was charged on the 26th of October 2020, not the 26th of July 2020, which was a Sunday. This is tantamount to corruption and shows that the state is in for this fabrication story to pin a murder on innocent people. This is my notes. The statement makes mention that Sibiya's constitutional rights were explained to him. I don't believe that for a second. The statement is stamped, the statement is stamped with subs stamp dated the 26th of October 2020. Then the judge says, just interpret the Then the judge looks at the interpreter and orders the interpreter to just interpret the statement to Mr. Sibiya, as the judge hands the statement to Sibiya seated next to him. Date on the stamp is the 26th of October 2020. Judge then says, yes, sir, apparently that's the arresting statement. Advocate Mshololo stood to object on the grounds of fairness. Oh, remember the opening of the video? I said there was a scuffle between the judge and Advocate Mshololo. Now we are going full circle. This is where it all began. Advocate Mshololo, the witness cannot be referred to a statement that was made by the arresting officer. Judge comes in and says, which statement must be referred to? Advocate Mshololo says the statement that the judge just read into record, it was made by the arresting officer, not in front of this witness. He has no knowledge of this statement. Ooh, child. Judge then comes in and says, no, fine. I never said he has knowledge of whatever. I just said, where is the arresting statement, Mr. Sibanda? Hello, does this thing. Just stand up. You told this court that there is an arresting statement. There was silence from Sibanda. Again, the judge was like, hello. Then Sibanda eventually answered and said, yes, because he requested for it. And I'm saying, no, he did not request for the arresting statement. He requested for the document when he was charged and rolled his fingerprints. That was what he was asking for, not this document that was read into the record. Then I say, no, Mr. Sibanda, he requested for the charge sheet with his fingerprints and date of charging. Sibanda is a crook, allegedly. Sibanda is a crook, in my opinion. What he was trying to pull here, that's a crook way of doing things. Then the judge says, I am not involved in wanting somebody going to jail. I was like, okay. This case should have closed a long time ago, and yet here you are still presiding because the outcome is guilty as charged, right? Then the judge continued to say, after that, Mr. Sibiya says, no, if you can show me the arresting statement. Then I was like, no, Judge Rata, he did not ask for the arresting statement that you read into the record. He wanted the one with his fingerprints on. The judge then continued to say, if you can show it to me. Then I said, where is it? Apparently he had given it to the lady there. It took time for it to be found. After he gets it, I said, apparently this is what they say is the arresting statement. And then I read it into record. That's all I did. And you are saying it's unfair. He's addressing Advocate Mshololo. Advocate Mshololo, my lord, with due respect, understand what the lordship this is when Rata did an outburst. And I did not know where it was coming from. I did not even see it coming. Then the outburst came. Don't accuse me of being a crook. Advocate Mshololo tried to answer and say something. The judge interjected and said, no, just listen to me. You must never. Hey, I was like, okay. I've been 50 years in this profession. I've never been accused of being a crook. Who said that? In my mind, I'm like, but who accused you of being a crook, sir? Unless you are directing this message that indirectly to YouTubers who have been saying stuff at the expense of Mshololo. Advocate Mshololo, once again, attempted to say something. My lord, I am not accusing you. Advocate Mshololo attempted to say something, maybe to complete her thoughts. She says, my lord, I am not accusing you. And then it stops there. She couldn't even finish her sentence. Judge once again outbursts. And he said, what are you accusing me of? Advocate Mshololo says, but my lord, I am not. Advocate Mshololo says, but my lord, I am asking this court to listen. Judge Rata, ooh, child. You know, to go. I was like, wow, a whole grown man, another adult. Advocate Mshololo then said, the accused, when he said, unless I can be shown a statement, I was arrested on that day. Then my question is, my lord, the statement that has been presented to the accused is not the statement that was made by the accused. It was made by the arresting officer. I don't think Rata heard what Advocate Mshololo was saying, because this is what he says. Nobody said that the accused made an arresting statement. He's not a policeman. What are you saying? You. Well, then he goes, you. Isilungu sinzima. I was like, this is what he always wanted to say to the defense. Because the truth of the matter is, they don't have a good command of the English language. But they are advocates of Salai. Then Advocate Mnisi tried to say something, and Judge Rata shut him down with a very serious face. Advocate Mnisi sat down without saying a word. Then the judge continues to say, this witness never said he made an arresting statement. Don't misconstrue izinto lapha, please. He said, don't misconstrue things here. Basically, that's what it means in Zulu. He said he wanted to see the arresting statement. No, he did not say that. Sorry, he did not. He wanted the document that has his fingerprints on. Whether that is arresting statement, or whether it's a warning statement, or that, as long as it has the date of the 26th of July 2020, as well as his fingerprints. That is how he will remember the date. There you have it. Haven't we been saying that? Then the judge continues to say, he said he wanted to see the arresting statement. And Sibande, and then he stops himself. And then he says something that he agrees with the rest of us. Something that we've been saying for the longest time. And he says, I'm not involved in this nonsense. Hey, I was like, yes, Judge, now you see it. There you have it. Haven't we been saying that this case is nonsense? The presiding officer in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial just told the court that this case is nonsense. And he's right. This whole case is nonsense. We continue to say as the clan. Then the judge continues to say, Sibande is the person that says there is an arresting statement. He wants to see it, referring to Sibiya. They looked for it. They did not find it, but ultimately it was found. And I say, I want to see the statement because I don't have it. I don't have a copy of it. Question I have. Then the question I had in my mind, I was like, a whole presiding officer doesn't have a document in his bundles? Looks like Judge Rata has egg on his face for having defended Advocate Baloyi about him violating, about him withholding documents that should have been disclosed before the main trial even started. Not even the pre-trial conference. He's now tasting Baloyi's bitter medicine. Judge Rata continues to say there's no exhibit of that. Is that not so, sir? He's asking Sibanda. Sibanda says yes. So Sibanda admits that this particular document does not exist, or it was not submitted to the defense and also to the judge, which basically vindicates the state, which vindicates the defense about Baloyi's tactics. Then the judge says, that's it. I read it to the court. Ngoba aguna mgunyati kimi. Meaning that I read it to the court because I am not corrupt. Like everybody, I heard what he said after it is read. I say they must interpret it to Mr. Sibiya. It is then interpreted to Mr. Sibiya. And you say, I'm unfair. And then he says again, I'm unfair. This time, a nip. What when you go? That's what he says. It goes. Then in my notes, I say, I could feel Rada's rage permeating right through my screen. All for what? Something that Sibiya did not ask for. The judge then continues to say, sir, meaning Mr. Sibanda, they are saying that this is an arresting. Oh, no. Then the judge looks at Mr. Sibiya and says, sir, they are saying that is the arresting statement. You can make your comments if you want to, he tells Sibiya. Then Sibiya responds to the judge and says, my lord, this statement is written by a police and it's not in line with what I am saying. That the police, when they brought this statement themselves to me on the day of the 26th of October 2020, it does not align with me getting charged. I asked the court to find me the document where I placed my fingerprints so we can find the date I was charged in Fosloras. The judge kept nodding while Sibiya was talking. Then the judge says, okay, Mr. Sibande, the witness, Mr. Sibiya, wants to see the statement where he placed his fingerprints on. You call it an arresting statement. What you are saying, I don't know. The judge then says, is the one that they gave you when they arrested you or when they were charging you, which one is it? Rata isn't listening, I said in my notes. Sibiya once again repeats, I am talking about the one where they placed my fingerprints on, saying that they were charging me for the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. The judge was like, where is that document, sir? Asking now Sibanda. Now Sibanda, this is when Sibanda points at Mshololo and accuses her of saying warning, warning to Mr. Sibiya. And he says he could even hear it from where he was standing. Of course, Advocate Mshololo humbly stood up and says, there are witnesses around me. I did not do such a thing. But you know, Rata, what he will do. Even though he did not see it, he will take the side of the state. So this is what I say. You begin to see that the tactics that the state pulls whenever it's losing, it tries to divert attention away from it or get the defense in trouble with the judge to add in its judgment some contempt of court that was perpetuated. All that Sibanda had to do is to face off Sibiya, who still has him by the nuts, by the way. Then after all of that nonsense that took place between that Sibanda tried was done, judge then continued to say to Sibanda, the witness says he wants to see the document where he appended his thumbs or his fingerprints. Do you have it? Then Sibanda responds by saying the defense is that the route they want to take. When he realized that the Shololo tactic failed, he now obfuscates and says, but this is what the defense this is the route the defense wants to take. It's Sibiya on the stand that is asking for document, is not the defense. Then in my mind, I'm like, Haibo, what on earth? Keep a paper that Muzi is asking for. Take out the paper that Muzi is asking for, I say. The one with the fingerprints. What does that got to do with the defense? Sibanda went quiet and the judge was like, hello. There was a long silence and deliberation between Sibanda and the assistants, including Miss Mohola, apparently. Then the judge was a little bit irritated by Sibanda and says, Mr. Sibanda, what is the problem now? Then Sibanda says, I was just asking if that's the route that they want to take and embark upon. The judge says, who? Sibanda says, the defense. The judge says, no, this is a witness, Mr. Sibiya. Once that document, is that not so, sir? Now he's looking at Sibiya. Is that not so what you are looking for? And Sibiya says, yes, my lord, the one with my fingerprints. Who? Then Sibiya responds and says, yes, my lord, the one with my fingerprints. And in my mind, I'm like, ooh, I'm imagining Gininda and them tripping over the typewriter and looking for documents with Sibiya's fingerprints. Because tomorrow morning, we might actually be presented with that document. Where was it all this time? The judge needs to ask. He should reject it. The interpreter reads a document with Muzi. It's a document about an interview on the 23rd of July 2020. It's about the death of Senzo Meyiwa. Then the interpreter addresses the judge and says, the witness says he can see the date of the 23rd of July 2020. He's just not sure if that's the document where he was charged. We also read the statement made regarding the interview, which now, paragraph 2, which speaks about the matter of Senzo Meyiwa, which occurred on the 26th, and then he stopped. No, he said, I should please read for him what is written. He just wanted to know what this document was about. Then the judge says, is it the first time you see this document, sir? He's asking Sibiya. Sibiya responds and says, this is the first time I see this document. Then the judge continues to ask Sibiya, but your attorney, didn't they ever show you this document? Sibiya responds and says, he showed me a lot of documents. I'm not sure if this one is also part of those many documents. Then the judge says, is that the document you wanted to see? Your fingerprints are thereon, defining that you are being charged. Sibiya then answers the judge and says, my lord, this is not the one because my fingerprints are not on this document. I think Judge Rata is beginning to see now what Sibiya has been asking for. Then the judge says, fine. Then Sibiya continues to address the court and says, this one has the date of the 23rd of July. Then the judge says, okay, fine, it is not in the documents you wanted. Then Sibiya continues to say, I thought that they were going to show me where I placed my fingerprints. Even with that one, I don't know if it is part of the one where I placed my fingerprints on. Then the judge says, fine, then you can return that document. Then the judge wants to know where they got the document that Sibiya is now handing over. Was it from Ngomezulu? Sibanda says, no, it's from Sergeant Mohola. Then I'm like, oh, now it makes sense why she's there. It's to produce documents that were never submitted or disclosed at the beginning of the trial. That's why she was there. And now suddenly we have an arresting statement. So basically, this is what Sibanda says, no, from Sergeant Mohola. The corruption people. Sibanda then says, I have no further questions for the witness. Then I was like, clearly, Sibiya ruined his parade. What a spectacular we saw in court today. Talk about an ant killing an elephant. That's exactly what we witnessed in Rata Mokgwatleng's courtroom today. I don't know what you guys thought. I know this video was way too long, but I really wanted to go through everything that transpired in court today so that you get to see what we've been saying all along. We were not Delulu. This trial is nonsense. This trial is a joke. There's no case against the 5 men that stand accused of killing Senzo Meyiwa. The right people that's supposed to be on the stand as accused number 1, number 2, to number 7 are the people that were with Senzo Meyiwa on the 26th of October 2014. We maintain that. Now it's beginning to show. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like. Anyways, now I remember why I was not saying. Okay, now I know what was missing from my outro. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet and click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everybody that's super thanking the channel and supporting it financially. I highly appreciate you. And also, leave a comment down below and let me know what did you think about the hits that happened in court today. Shololo and the judge, Sibanda and Sibiya, woo, we were entertained. I don't want to lie. It was an entertainment. But anyways, let me see you next time with a new video. Goodbye.